As the host of the Real Life Moms podcast, I have had over 150 conversations with parents. And there is a theme that just keeps coming up time after time. And that is the wish to have learned important life lessons much earlier. And that's why I'm so thrilled to introduce my new passion project. And that is a coloring book. It's called Coloring Conversations, talking about the ABCs of life. So imagine you and your child coloring the letter K, but also discussing the word kindness or exploring words like forgiveness while coloring the letter F. This unique coloring book isn't just about letters, it's about sparking deep, meaningful conversations that build emotional intelligence and essential life skills. Whether it's family bonding time, play dates, or even just a thoughtful gift for a birthday, graduation, or holidays, each page is packed with potential for growth and understanding. So let's change those "I wish I had learned this earlier" moments into "I'm so glad we talked about this." Just click on the link in the show notes and download your copy of Coloring Conversations today. Welcome to the Real Life Moms podcast. It is time to take a break from all our to-dos and carve out this time to focus on ourselves. I'm Lisa Foster, your host, and today I'm here with fellow mom Joanne Homestead, and she is an email copywriter, a holistic copy coach, and she is a passionate storyteller. And today we are talking about pressures and high expectations that we place on ourselves. So thank you, Joanne, for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa, for having me here. I'm really excited to be able to talk. I love talking all things mom and entrepreneurship.
And I love that you're a storyteller because you do it in a way that people actually want to listen. So that's amazing. And I know that's the backbone of your brand, your own business. So I'm going to use your expertise and say, maybe you can tell us your story about launching your own business and kind of those bumps in the road.
Oh, yes, the bumps and the potholes and the stop signs and all that stuff. Yes. I'd love to share that. So I was a teacher for 15 years. My whole background and career is teaching. So I actually tried leaving teaching a few different times because of the pressure and the expectations, and everything was just causing me to have just I don't sleep very well, just working a lot. It's very stressful, but I kept going back to teaching. So I found out about the online business world. It was a month before the lockdown in 2020, right? 2020, yeah. And I remember I found out about it actually from an email. His subject line said, calling all teachers. I remember it was like all in caps. And I saw that and I was like, I'm a teacher. I need to open this email. Let's see what's inside. And he was speaking at a free online summit hosted by a former teacher. And she was interviewing, I think, 15 to 20 former teachers, their stories of why they left teaching. And all the reasons that I heard were like, check, 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 check for me. Like, yes. And then what online business that they started. And I literally had to listen to every single one of those interviews. I remember I would drive to school, which was about like a 35-minute commute for me, and I would listen to an interview going to school, and I would listen to an interview coming back. And I think it was at the end of 2 weeks, like the light bulb finally went off, and I said, okay, I can leave teaching. I know what I can do. And I think at this time, like 2 weeks later, the lockdown happened. I told my husband, I was like, this is it. This is the sign. this is my this is my exit strategy. And then from there, I did start my online business first as a virtual assistant, and so from there, I got hooked into the email marketing, got hooked into the copywriting. I mean, I did not even know what a copywriter was when I started my business. No idea.
I don't even know if I know, so you'll have to tell us too. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is an email copywriter?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, I mean, someone asked me that recently, like, what is a copywriter? So I said, copywriting is basically using the written word to persuade someone to take an action. How I got hooked into copywriting is because that's what I was passionate about doing as a teacher. It's the same thing, not necessarily through the written word, but through teaching, through curriculum, through lessons, through storytelling. That I mean, everything in the classroom is infused with how do I hook all these kids in? How do I engage them? How do I help them? Like, how do I inform them so that they understand that, oh, this is relevant to me and I want to take this action. I want to own this action, not just be forced by someone like a teacher to do
Mhm.
something, but I actually want to do this thing because I really understand why I need to do this thing. So taking the action. So really, I felt like, oh, I've just been doing this for 15 years and now I've just pivoted into doing it more in like written word.
Well, it's interesting though, because I feel like I've gotten those emails like healthcare professionals, take your healthcare profession online. I'm like, yes. And then all of a sudden it's like, how do I do that? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a man. So I love that you kind of figured a way because it's not, it sounds easy. It sounded easy. Like, I've been teaching, I'm doing all this stuff already, but now you're doing it very differently online and helping people with a specific piece that you really enjoy. But that's a hard thing to figure out. What am I going to do
Hmm.
to use the knowledge I already have and
Hmm.
be able to share it with people in a different format
Hmm.
online, right?
Hmm.
So how did you navigate that? Because I'm sure there's like that would be my stop sign, right? Like, oh, this sounds exciting. I'm so excited. I'm gonna do something online, and then I'm like, "Oh, I don't know what to do. Stop, like gonna go back to the office and do what I normally do, right?
Yeah.
So how did you navigate that?
To me, it felt very natural to me, but that's only because I honed the skill I felt like for 15 years. And what I mean is that I was just that was what I was passionate about in teaching. And so I loved to hone that skill over like 15 years, every year having different students, different audience, needing to engage with them differently and how to get them to take an action. And so when I first started out as a virtual assistant, I wrote email newsletters for a few different clients at the time. And they all said the same thing. People are like they're responding. They're actually taking the time to respond because it's resonating with them. The message is resonating. The stories are resonating, and it's creating an emotional connection. And the emotional connection drives them to want to take the action. But it's like
Mhm.
not in a manipulative way, not in a pushy way, not with like magic pills or FOMO or anything. It's really just an emotional connection. And that's the storytelling piece too. And so I think for me, like it just seemed so natural that I had to go back. And so I really had to break down like how am I even doing this? And on what's working, how does that work? And so that was the piece where it was that part was a little more challenging to me because I had to kind of like pull myself out, zoom out and see
Mhm.
what it is I was doing. And I did also take a couple copywriting trainings and email marketing trainings from some of the women entrepreneurs out there in the online world. Laura Belgray, she's a really big one, and Tarzan K. And so those also helped me to figure out like the framework, what was exactly the framework that I was using.
So, what were some speed bumps that you actually hit? What things did you find that you needed to overcome in launching this new business?
Yes, the bumps and the potholes and all that. I didn't realize how much trauma I was bringing in from teaching, and I brought it into my business. And I didn't even realize I was doing that. I wasn't aware because I was on autopilot as a teacher, and burning out every year is just normal. It's just normal to burn out. You take something that's just normal it's just happening every year to be normal, but
Mhm.
it's normal. But I didn't know at the time it was not normal. And so I brought that into my business, and that was actually a really big piece of learning for me in my business. I was the person who was just like go go go, high achieving. I'm going to give it my all. I'm giving it everything I have and not considering like how am I taking care of myself in this time. And actually what was like the transformative moment for me was after having my second son, and he was a newborn at the time. And I was running my business, and I basically did a full leap. Fully resigned from teaching, went fully into my business, and I'm the sole income maker for our family. Very big leap of faith, and just feeling like I have to keep going. I got to keep growing this business. I got to provide financially for my family. After he was born, the first month, I got on my first podcast guest speaking. I was so nervous, and I don't know why. I booked it after he was just born a month. And that was just how I was running at the time. When he was 2 months old, I booked a training that I was going to do for a coach in her group. And it was really after that training, she asked me, like, how are you feeling? Are you like, how are you really feeling? And I broke down crying. I'm exhausted. Think I got 3 hours of sleep last night. The baby hasn't been sleeping well. I'm trying to run this business. I'm trying to provide for my family. And it kind of brings tears to my eyes right now, because that was the first time I realized I was in a very deep hole, like a pit. And I did not realize I was even in that pit until she asked me, and it all came out. What I was thinking is, it's all external that are causing me all this like pressure and having to do all these things and work and go. And that was the first time I realized it's actually, there's a part of it in me too. Obviously there are external systems and situations, but I was kind of blaming it all on that and didn't realize actually there was a lot internally, like the internal work for me, to help me realize, oh, how much of this pressure actually is actually just coming from me. Just about 100% was internal pressure for myself. And so that was one of the biggest things for me in my business. And since then, like working with a coach and doing the internal work, I feel like I'm in such a better place. I'm able to work in my business in a way that just feels more calm. It doesn't mean that I don't feel that pressure sometimes. It happens, but then I'm aware of it. I'm able
Mhm.
to notice it. And if I don't notice it, I have accountability partners. I have my support network to help me notice something, because it's hard to see what they always say, like it's hard to see the label from the inside of a bottle. And so I have those support networks in place to say like, oh, Joanne, like where, how are you? What's going on? Okay. And then helping bring that awareness around. Okay, am I still working from a place of like being, is what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
from the place of being, I can do. And that
Hmm.
comes from such a different place than trying to just do everything.
So, same story to so many entrepreneurs out there, especially I think moms who do and take on everything. And I think when you have a business, and especially if you're a solopreneur, right, where you are the business and you have the expectation that your business actually has to bring in the income to support your family, there's a lot of pressure. And listening to your story a bit, it's funny because you talked about burnout, right? And you were kind of trained that that was normal, which was not normal. Yet
Mhm.
in your own business, you were starting to kind of feel that as well, right? That
Yeah,
burnout.
the burnout.
And I think at the end of the day, we have to also remind ourselves that we don't always have to have a reaction or an answer or a completion of something in a certain time frame, especially when
Yeah.
it's your own business, right? Like you can choose what that time frame is. You can choose to pause before you respond. Like that's the bonus of not having a boss over you, right? You're your boss, so you get to make the rules.
Mhm.
And I know it does feel like, oh my God, a client's calling. It's a Saturday morning. I have to answer it, but it's a Saturday morning. And if that's not part of your routine, your way of how you want to run your business, then that call can wait till Monday. It can,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, the
And setting
call.
those boundaries.
Yeah, that's the same. I feel like the same way about whenever I realize I have that thought of I'm behind. I'm so behind. And then I'm thinking, is that true? I'm trying to get into this automatic asking of myself when I have a thought. I go, is that actually true?
Right.
No, I'm actually not behind because I set my deadlines so I can just
Exactly. Like behind who is what I want to ask you.
exactly.
Like behind who? You're in charge.
Yeah,
Behind yourself? Great. Still
right.
me.
Yeah,
I could be
exactly.
behind me. Still
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Someone, the me's in front too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm so behind as entrepreneurs and as moms, our to-do list is endless. It is literally endless. There is no end to it. And so you can get into that energy of like, oh my God, I'm so behind. I have so much to do on my list, but realizing like, wait a minute, I can control my my schedule. Yes, the to-do list is always going to be there and it's always going to be endless. And that's okay. You need to take the time to figure out what do you want to prioritize? What's the most important thing to do? And I like the analogy. A couple coaches have told me this before of the juggling balls. You have the rubber balls and the glass balls. And so if you're juggling all those balls, you have to keep the glass balls juggling because if those fall, they're going to break. But the rubber balls, if they drop, that's okay. They're just going to bounce and it's fine. You can pick them up back up later if you want. So when you're looking at the to-do list and you're feeling, I'm so behind, so behind, like just thinking what are the glass balls that I need to keep juggling. The rest can fall. It's fine. They're going to bounce. It's okay. I can pick them up later. What I used to like saying is you're juggling like an elephant, three cats, 10 ping pong balls. There's a chainsaw, a live chainsaw going on in there. And you have to
Mhm.
decide like, okay, what do I need to put down? What can I really juggle here? And go back to like, does this align with my goal, my business goal? Does this align with my values? Does this align with the way that I want to be running my business?
I've been doing my own business for a while now. And what I realized too is like we do all this multitasking as
Mm-hmm.
parents. And what I am finding is when I do that, I do multiple things not well, is what I'm doing, right? I don't feel good about it. I'm not in the space. It doesn't really get done like ideally. And I used
Mm-hmm.
to laugh at my husband, like, oh, you can't multitask like I can. Like it used to be a badge of honor that I
Yeah.
wore, like, because I was
Yeah.
so good at it. And then
Mm-hmm.
I realized I'm not good at it at all. And what he's been
Mm-hmm.
doing all along is probably the best thing. And so now what I try to do for myself is when I prioritize, I like to, in fact, my new planner has like three things, like three spaces for priorities for that week. And I put my three things, only three things that I'm going to focus on for that week. And next week it'll be different.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm at work, I'm at work. I am 100% there. I'm 100% with my clients. But when I come home, I'm done with work and I'm
Mm-hmm.
100% with my kid. I'm 100% at dinner. That's what I want to do because that's where I'm the best and that's where I can actually enjoy myself and not get burnt out. So like this
Yes.
thought of needing all these things, like listening to you, I'm like, oh my God, the cat, you know what? The dog will have my attention when I'm feeding her or taking her for a walk. Those are our times. But you know what? I hardly even know she's there when I'm watching a show with my husband because that's where I am at that moment. And that feels, honestly, it feels good. It feels less strung out. I feel like I can actually enjoy what I'm doing.
Being present, I felt like that was something I struggled a lot with in my business. I felt like when I was at work, I was thinking about my family. When I was with my family, I was thinking about work. I couldn't be in just the one place and focus on the one thing. Being present was definitely something that I really had to like dig into like what's going on there. Why do I feel like I have to be thinking about work with when I'm with family and then vice versa? Is that serving me? No, not,
No.
not at all.
And it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying we don't fall back,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But at least when you can catch yourself. And if I feel like I need to do something during the day and I'm at work, then I'll block the time for it. I'm not going to think about it until 9 o'clock. And from 9 to 9:30, I'll take care of this that has a family thing. Maybe I have to make a doctor's appointment. Maybe I have to follow up on something, but I'm not doing it while trying to do something else.
Absolutely. Like we're not perfect And I definitely have had times again where my mind is wandering, and it is really just like having that awareness and just building on it. That's the important part.
Now, what do you wish someone told you as you were transitioning, starting this new journey? What if you had a piece of advice, what would you wish to have heard?
I think what it would have been is start building your network. You don't have to do it all on your own.
Yes. Oh my God, that's such a good one. And honestly, I learned that so late in the game.
It took me a while to figure that one out too. Like, wait a minute, I don't need to be alone in this.
Well, and I think what happens in like business is we always think there's like a competition. Oh, I can't ask for help because then they'll be giving me their secrets of business or something. Or what if my clients go there instead? She's so much
Mhm.
better.
Mhm.
There's like this like feeling, but it's actually a total opposite of that, right? It doesn't even matter if
Yeah,
you're doing the same thing. When you're networking, it's all about helping each other and your clients because
it
maybe you
is.
don't have a piece that you can refer over to somebody else. Maybe they've learned how to do something easy. And what I found, and I'm sure you find this too, is people want to share. People want to share their information because they love, like, if something's working really well for them, they want to tell everybody, right? And so,
Yes.
yay, let's do that.
Oh, I know. I mean, I think for me, what it was specifically about, like being alone in the journey was the thought, like I have to prove myself. I don't know if this is for you or any of the listeners out there. This is for me. I have to prove myself. So therefore, I have to do this on my own to prove that I can do this thing, that I'm capable, that I have what it takes, and realizing that what am I proving to myself? What's the purpose of that? And realizing that I don't need to prove myself. I'm here. I'm on this journey and I want to, it goes back to what you said. Like, I want to help people. So if I want to help people, then like, just, yeah, go start building a network and ask ask people for advice, suggestions, and most people are willing. And if not, that's okay too. Everyone has their boundaries, but I would say for the most part, every people are just, yeah, they want to help, they want to share, they want to be able to uplift
Yeah.
one else
And I
too.
think as moms, right, one thing we have a hard time doing is asking for help.
For help.
And people want to help, right? Like, don't you love helping someone with something you're good at? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't want to, I hate making meals. Like, that is not my thing. Yes, if you
Yeah.
need food, I will probably purchase something and bring it to you. Like,
Yes.
that is just not my thing. But if you want advice, if you want like something that I've done before, oh my God, like I want to help. Like, people want to help with the things they enjoy doing. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, we just need to ask. Asking is huge and definitely something that all moms need to do.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So I'm going to ask you because you are an expert in this email marketing and I need help, right? So here we go. Tell
Let's
us
do
a little
this.
bit about email marketing, like why people might not know why it's so important. I think a lot of people in business don't use emails enough. But tell us a little
Mhm.
bit why it's important and then maybe we're going to ask you to share some of your secrets that can
Ooh.
really change the results that maybe people can respond, buy what we want to offer, things like that.
Yes. Okay. I could talk about email marketing for days and days and days. So, email marketing for me, first of all, like why I'm in email marketing, because for some people they're like, email? What? Why? Because this is how I imagine it. When solopreneurs, business owners, mom business owners, when they think marketing, they immediately are thinking social media marketing. That's the most like front facing, in your face. It is there. You use it, a lot of people use it personally in their personal life as well. So it's just more familiar as well in that sense too, because you're like, oh, I always say I have a personal account. The social media marketing to me is kind of like you're at the beach and it's the volleyball party on the beach. Everyone's having fun, loud music. They're out there giving high fives. That's social media marketing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's that's fine. And then I feel like email marketing is like you've got the beach house, okay, and you're inviting people to a dinner party. So it just feels more intimate, more personal, more intentional. You're inviting them in and you have you're creating an experience around it from them knocking on the door all the way to like stepping in to getting to know other people at the dinner party, having the dinner, and then at the end saying like, "Hey, that was fun. You want to go grab a coffee?" You wouldn't say something like for a new friend, like, "Hey, do you want to go on a 2-week Amazon rainforest trip?" Like maybe too much. Like something like, "Let's go grab a coffee. I really enjoyed it." That's how I like to describe email marketing. And it's important because as you can see with all the social media drama happening right now with TikTok, with even Facebook and Instagram right now. People are starting to like hop off of it and like all these social media platforms. You don't own your following. So if something ever does happen, like TikTok is like gone, you can't use it for 24 hours. That's it. You can't contact anyone. Same thing for all the other social media platforms is that's the thing with social media is like it is a great place for visibility, it's a great place to connect, but just know that if anything does happen, they close your account for some reason, which has happened to a few entrepreneurs either through like tech glitches or there's something that happened that they close it down, you're not able to access your community that you built there. Whereas in email marketing, this is why a lot of people say, like, build your email list. I like to call it your email community. Grow your email community because you have their email addresses. And that way, when you do, let's say you migrate to a different email platform, they all come with you. They come along with the ride. And you're able to contact them if for some reason the platforms go down, you're still able to have direct communication with them through email. So this is why email is so important. And this is, I think, where the biggest piece is for people is that they may hear like, you need to have an email list as a business, you need to have an email list. So they create one, but they aren't sure what to do with it. They're inconsistent or they're writing, but it's not really doing much. It's because they haven't set their North Star. They have it, but they don't know what the purpose of their email list is. Obviously, a big one for businesses is getting clients through email, but there's a lot of different other purposes to an email list that you can really think about that will help you then get those clients through emails? Like, are you wanting to use to build brand awareness for them to get to know you? Do you want to use it to direct them to your other social media platforms, to your podcast? How does the email gear, I like to call it a gear, fit into all the other gears in your marketing? And then do you want to be directing to other content? What other content do you have? Is it blogs? Is it videos? Is it podcasts? Whatever that is, you just kind of need, like, you don't need to do all of it. You just need to focus on the ones that bring out your strengths and use that in there. So we're not reinventing the wheel. So I would definitely say like one of the biggest thing is setting the vision for your email marketing. What is it you want your emails to do for you specifically? Then set your goals, realistic goals. We tend to overshoot, and that's okay. We can always brain dump it out and then see, okay, what's actually realistic. Set the goals and then set the action steps to achieve those goals.
Awesome. Awesome. So, where can the listeners find you? What you have to offer?
Yeah, so you can learn more about me on my website, deskplantcreatives.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. If you search my name, Joanne Homestead or Joanne Homestead Copywriter, I am the only Joanne Homestead on LinkedIn and on Google. So it'll be pretty easy to find me there as well. And then I am on Instagram at Desk Plant Creatives with a dot in between the words. I'm not actively posting on there, but I am active in the messaging there. And then, of course, my email community. I would absolutely love for you to join me there. And in my email community, Flourish, I talk about copywriting tips, email sequence strategy, and I talk a lot about mindset too, because that's the thing they don't ever talk about in email marketing trainings or copywriting programs, they may touch upon the mindset a little bit, but that's actually one of the biggest pieces of having successful email marketing strategy is what are all the thoughts that are coming up? And so if you'd like to join me there, I do have a free gift. It's my email storytelling guide, and you can grab that from my website. And I absolutely encourage you to get that because it comes with 25 story prompts specifically for entrepreneurs in wellness, well-being, and mindset. And then it has 7 types of hooks and 15 plus segues. So, how to segue from the storytelling to your marketing content. It's an easy plug and play. You just pick one of those segues and you put it in. You don't even have to think about it anymore. It just makes it so much easier. So, it's a really great reference guide for when you're writing your emails and you're not quite sure how to segue from the story into your marketing content.
Oh, that is awesome. I'm going to have to do that. And I will put that in the show notes as well. So people can just click on it and start segueing all the all the way to their email.
Segue all the way to the
Segue all the way to their email.
yeah.
Yes, I love it. So, okay, before we go, what is one thing you want the listeners to start doing today?
I always like to say, start collecting your stories. That is a easy. I'm not even saying like share your stories. I'm just saying start collecting your stories. And what you can do to do that is you just start noticing things. I call them everyday stories. Just look for everyday stories that you can relate back to your what you do in your business. So for example, I wrestle with the bed sheet on the mattress, and that is most frustrating thing. I don't know what happens, but I get one corner of the bed sheet on and the other corner of opposite end pops off and I cannot get it right. And that is an everyday story. People can relate to it. This is something that just happens. It's just like it's such a normal thing that people that might say like, I don't have any stories to tell. I'm boring. I have nothing happens to me in my life. But I know as moms, we have so many stories we could tell. Just the mattress sheet going onto the bed, that's a story. And then I can connect it to what I like to talk about is okay. So you put one corner on, it pops the other corner off, and you're just like wrestling and sweating. And this is what it's like when you don't have a vision for your email community. That's how it feels because you write one email and this other end pops off and you're trying to write this sequence. It's just frustrating because it's just not working the way you want it to. And that's just how you connect it. So collect your everyday stories, just those little stories of going to the coffee shop or having a conversation with a friend or a colleague that can turn into an email.
Oh, I love that. And yes, that happens to me too. I end up laying across the whole bed, which is no good. No good, by the way, because then you really can't stretch it over there, but that's what I end up doing. So totally relatable. And I love how you put that together. So that's such a great idea.
Again, it comes back to the emotional connection. You're really connecting emotionally, and that's what's building the trusts there. Besides just
Amazing.
educating, you are building the emotional connections. Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your expertise and your journey and your stories with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on, Lisa.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you are walking away with prioritizing yourself, putting yourself on your to-do list. And really, I love that analogy of juggling those balls. And you know what? The rubber ones can bounce, and those glass ones we might need to tackle now. But know that there is space and time, and we don't have to do everything all at once. If you want to learn more about Joanne and take advantage of some of her offerings, just click on the link in the show notes and start exploring all that she has to offer. Until next week, keep carving out time for yourself and keep putting yourself on top of your to do list.